Some modifications and activities discussed in this podcast should not be attempted or recreated. Make sure to keep the mods legal and obey the laws of the road and keep routine ages. Welcome everyone to the Limited Slip Differences podcast, the podcast where we talk about all things cars, some things about tractors, and then the odd time we just talk shit about other stuff too.
So we're not saying lorries then, considering it hasn't happened.
Like we said one thing about lorries and just yeah, it hasn't happened. So we're now in episode 8.
Holy fuck.
7 episodes through.
That's how numbers work, Connor, yep. Sorry, continue.
So, as I was rudely interrupted, so I'm Connor.
I'm Michael.
Yeah, so what's happening with you these days?
Well, I suppose before we kick into that, first thing I want to say is the real OGs who have watched podcast 1 will realise that we're back to the original seating position, although we now have this covering our face. The reason for that being is one of my cameras. So I have 3 cameras. I use one to video me, one to video Connor, and then one to video the two of us. And I use the dual camera for a bit of respite.
Hold on. So one of them broke. I broke a camera.
It actually, well, the thing is, 2 podcasts ago, episode 5, it stopped working.
Because of me?
Yeah, but then...
Have you seen me?
But then... You're beautiful, Connor. But then episode 6, it worked perfectly the full way through. Then,
normally 6 wouldn't be the greatest numbers, you know.
Yeah, well then episode 7, which is supposed to be a lucky number for everybody, it fucking died. And then, so that was one thing. And now my computer is on its last legs. So between, I use the 3 cameras.
Well, maybe set up a GoFundMe, and if everybody that loves our podcast wants it to be a wee bit better,
fuck that.
Chip in a few pennies.
Well, basically the reason, and we're getting off topic, but what I do is I use the 3rd camera of me and Connor for a bit of respite to kind of quicken up the editing process. Because when I do episode number 2 was literally just one camera and me, one camera and Connor. It took 19 hours to edit. I literally just don't have that time with everything else going on.
How long did it take the first one to edit?
The first one took something like 6 hours. It normally takes an average about 12 with the 3 cameras, which is still
a lot of time.
Yeah, but you can work with. But yeah. So because of the 2, well, I'm down to 2 cameras. I just simply don't have the time to.
Unfortunately, this time if Michael's picking his nose, he'll not be able to eat it.
I wasn't picking my fucking nose. Right. Anyway, on with the podcast. So, are you starting about your crack or am I?
Michael, if anybody's for all the listeners in the last 2 podcasts, they'll realise that Michael came down with the busy. I came down with the stupid.
I wouldn't say stupid.
It was stupid.
Why was it stupid?
Fucking went out and had a milk the next morning.
Oh, is this your night out on
So, Paul landed down the Friday and said, "Sure, do you want to go out on Saturday night? They're maybe heading to Dormans." Thought, I don't know. See what happens. And then obviously it came to Saturday. I was like, you know what? I'm kind of in the mood to go out. Then I was like, I haven't exactly arranged anybody to do the milking for me. Then I thought, fuck, it'd be grand. Aye, it wouldn't be fucking grand.
Worst decision ever. Trying to milk cattle was absolutely hanging out your arsehole.
To be fair, I was smart enough to not drink too much. Well, that's the funny thing. You say 1 or 2, but it's never 1 or 2. It could be 1 or 2.
1 or 2 too many, maybe.
Well, instead of 1 or 2 pints, it could be 1 or 2 triples. But no, it was grand enough night. And then, funny, whatever way Dormans worked, it was open to like 2. I didn't get home to 2:30. And I was up again 6:30.
Ugh.
Do you know something though? See, whenever you have an nerd on the parlour,
you're probably still half cut.
Cold morning. No, it was actually grand. I didn't even need to take paracetamol.
Jesus.
Best hangover cure. Not drinking milk, but taking the milk out of the cows.
I was thinking you were going to talk about the other thing you'd went into this week and not actually your hangover.
Oh, well. Funny, spent a lot of money.
Have you spent the money yet?
Aye, it's gone.
Oh, it's gone.
Account. Yes.
Why? Because basically what your man's doing is he's building your car with your money, which, when you think about it, makes perfect sense. rather than him being out the money.
True, yeah.
He just says, right, this is what's going to cost. I know part A, part B, part C. It's going to cost this. So, what have you got?
Insert a wee achievement unlocked. I bought a K-Pro.
You bought a K-Pro.
And I also, yes.
Obviously.
And
you're not going to K-Pro the Golf.
No.
That was more me correcting me and not me trying to be smart.
Well, it worked both ways. I know I bought it, and I bought a Tiguan Tech.
Scratch my fucking beard or anything whenever we've.
I thought you were going to say I can't even scratch my balls.
Well, I probably could get away with that if the camera tilted up more.
Anyway, yes. So I spent a lot of money in the Civic. So between underselling and that, some money's left my account. You know, so what else has really happened to me since the last podcast was recorded? The rain has affected my annoyingness of having to still clean the cows whenever they come into the parlour. Because they go to grass for a day, and then they're like, oh my God, we're in grass, happy days. And then tramp the shite out of the field.
Clary the absolute field of the balls. Like
they come in with more clay than they came in with shite the other night. So if everybody would like to have a wee word with Mother Nature to tell her to wise the fuck up and have a bit of sunshine.
It's bad. Like we our ground would be quite wet anyway at the best of times, and we just like literally fixed a couple of blocked drains, and then the next thing it just fucking fills up with water again. It's like, Jesus Christ, like, is there any end to this? Well,
like, I landed down quite early so that we could get this going quite early, because we were quite late last night, and that did not happen. There's always something fucking happens.
Literally got a call, but literally we were sitting down to start this podcast, and one of the fellas that takes our bit of our ground, he rung me and goes, I have no water to any of these drinker trucks. And I was like, right, okay. So we done a lot of plumbing here recently, so I don't think this is one of Michael's fuck ups for a change. I think I've genuinely there's something bad in the line.
Shut the front door.
It could be one of my fuck ups, but in fairness, it's going to be a line either I didn't know it was there because I was told, oh, the line goes from here to here, and you're not going to dig up a field to find a line, like you're just not. But in fairness, if we have to replumb the place, it'll be how I wanted to do it, so it's not going to be lost either way. What else? Tonight I decided to go spraying. And our sprayer, last time I used the sprayer was when I still had the Davy Brown, which was 2021. And I was using Roundup to spray last time. But doing what I always did, I cleaned the sprayer out, washed it out, and then filled it with coolant, antifreeze, to, stop it from freezing over and fucking up the pump.
Yeah.
Pulled it out today, and it was full of gunk.
Oh.
Absolutely full of gunk. I was like, right, I don't know what's happened here. Maybe there's been a reaction. So that was okay. Washed it out.
Not just as handy, just to put water through it and then keep her going till she literally is ran herself dry.
No, so I went out and checked went and cleaned down all the nozzles. And then went into the field, brushed down all the nozzles, cleaned the nozzles, put water through it, ran the agitators and all to get everything. Went out to the field, turned on the sprayers. All of them sudden basically trickles coming out of them, and I was like, what is going on? Took off all the nozzles, and there's a wee filter in each nozzle.
Yeah.
They looked like someone had covered them in soil. They were black. Aye. I would say my sprayers had 3 full tanks of spray put through it. Like, it's done no work.
What? Fuck, that scared the shit out of me.
What just fell there?
Something in the podcast tray
yes.
slipped on top of something else in the podcast tray.
Well, so that was that. It took more time to clean the fucking sprayer than it did to actually spray.
How much did you have to spray?
3 acres. See, that's what I mean. Like,
and it's not a wee sprayer, like.
No, but future proofing. So between that then and the Sierra still not working. So
what has happened now? So
more in the port later, but when we were coming back from the port last week, my brakes weren't fantastic to begin with. They weren't great, because since I put the Porsche brakes in,
you put bigger brakes in.
Well, I put bigger brakes in, but the Cosworth servo should be good for that. Like, that's Like, there's boys run them with big 6-pots. Like, that should never have been a problem. Now, I don't know whether it's because I couldn't get it bled properly or whether it's a faulty servo. But I decided to take it out and replace it then with the original servo that come in the car, and therein learnt a valuable lesson that your stroke and bore size or whatever it is to do with the master cylinder matters. Now, I know that's the case with hydro handbrakes, but and when I was sizing my clutch, it was important. But I just put in the old servo thinking, well, it's it's old servo, it did the brakes, it should still work. But me being the fucking thick twat I am, like, my car originally had drum brakes in the rear and tiny small brakes up front, and now I've got Porsche brakes up front and discs in the rear, so it's a far more commanding setup. So the master cylinder just couldn't cope. So made the lines, got it all in, system just would not bleed. You put your pedal on, put your pedal to the floor, just nothing. So still no further forward. Rode up in the Cosworth Owners Club, even though my car's not a Cosworth, LOL, but pay no heed, and asked, look, what's the crack? I don't want to run this electric servo. I don't like it. I can't get it working. I would maybe investigate it for another day. I would like kind of the idea of going to a mechanical servo still. And they said, oh, there's this really rare, like 1990 or 1991 non-ABS servo, very hard got. Turns out I bought one in 2018, and it was lying in the back of the shed. So if that now fitted, I haven't bled yet because I'm just letting it gravity. So if it filled with brake fluid, I'm just letting the gravity work its way through first before I start trying to bleed and blow seals. So,
well, at least there's a silver lining there, all right.
Well, just also really, I need to get it. Like, it's me and my own, so I'm going to try and track down a compression bleeding. Sean McNamee and me tried. He had he brought his compression bleeder down the other night, and it was a deadly job. So might just steal his.
Right. So something right, as per usual with the podcast, you start it having a clue because my mind goes blank half the time, and then while you're doing it, you're like, yes, forgot about that. We both did something recently that we hadn't done in a while.
I was about the port. More on that later.
No.
Oh, well, there's more in the port later.
So I've owned an EP3 now 2.5 years.
Have you?
Isn't it mad?
There's no way you've owned that thing.
October 2020.
Bullshit. Actually.
Aye.
I thought you bought it in 2021.
No. Well, Adam came down.
That's right.
And Creth decided to, unfortunately, his clutch, the foot slipped off it and she just went around uncontrollably.
Just as he happened to be hit with the limiter, yep.
Yes. Oh, he was hit with the diff.
Next thing, if car just uncontrollably going around in circles.
He limited slip, he could diff.
Yep.
I did a rollback. And straight after it pulled in to see if the tyre was alright. Because you know what? One wheel peel.
Well, yeah. So
passenger side tyre is now slightly less tread on it.
Well,
and you...
So I decided, fuck this, if my car's going to blow up, I may as well blow it up in my own yard. No, it's not. The engine's probably, touch wood, like the best thing on that car. Like, but I have learned that turbo petrols do get quite warm. Also,
Michael, if you fuck about a lot in your car.
Yeah, I also drove over my side skirt.
Oh.
Yeah, forgot about that. Yeah, I drove over my side skirt. So when I was lifting it up, the window bond on that side's not great. Because at the time we were fitting it, it had ran out. So there's only a couple of, it's like spot it. Nearly like spot welds. It's like spot it. So it was held in place with a nail. But when I was going up...
A what?
Well, a screw, sorry. Don't know why I said nail. A screw. And
when it was... That would really rash
when it was being nail going bang. No, so when I was lifted up, I hadn't the... So when the lift, you have the wee things that obviously sit
the
under
wee things
themselves.
that spin?
Aye. Well, I hadn't it lifted up high enough. So the leg of the lift caught before the wee sort of spinny, circly yuck and burst the screw. So literally split the screw in half. And in a bid to get the car off the lift and test the brakes, because at this point I didn't know if they were working properly or not. Despite having the soft pedal, I was like, well, they might be okay because they are stopping the wheel when you hold your foot on the brake.
Right, okay.
They were terrible, and I thought, fuck it, I'm pissed off. I'm going to go and enjoy myself here. So I started throwing hoops in the yard, and then next thing, I cracked my side skirt because I was reversing back, and then I didn't realise, but when I was reversing back, it fell off, and then I drove over it and just heard this almighty bang, and I was like, what's falling off the car now? So, yeah. That's the highlight of my... I probably have other stuff, but I've...
She went round, just sounded well, sure.
I just could have done with stopping. Because you can't do burnouts or nothing, because literally, if I put my foot in the brake, the car's just... Like, in that video, like, I was on the brake from I basically came out of the diff, and the car rolls for a considerable length of time. So I couldn't take the car to Conor McCollum's wedding, which is a bit annoying because they all were, the whole idea was to line up and have the cars, plus there might have been thrown a few hoops outside the chapel to celebrate, and I was kind of wanting to be in that action, and unfortunately I couldn't be, so it is what it is, like. But anyway, so have you anything else, or are we good to move on with the main topic?
I think so. I can't think of anything else. So,
what is our main topic this week?
So we're going to Drift Masters now on Sunday.
Oh, I'm so buzzing for it. I cannot wait.
We have Grandstand. I did not have Grandstand last year.
No. LZ Fest, we did not have Grandstand because we didn't want to pay for it. Thought it'd be fine. We had done, was it Drift Masters or ADC or something in 2021? Or just Japfest.
Japfest.
And it was maybe the queue, like the people to the wall was only like 4 people back, so you could still sort of see.
Jabfest that year.
Yeah. Japfest, that's right. So it was only like 4 people back. So we thought,
but we got it, like, because they run that time, because at that time they had only, maybe 12.5 drivers. Like, there were 16, 17 ones there.
Yeah.
They did like the whole, was it Drift King of Ireland or something like that? Just, I suppose, just for something for people to watch whenever they went to Japfest.
Mm-hmm.
And like, we were fit to get to the fence.
Yeah.
Whereas Drift Masters,
or LZ Fest last year, it was like 10 people back. Like, you would,
because we were drinking with Kevin and Conor McNeil and them ones to 5 a.m. at the Osprey. We didn't get up too early.
And the way it worked basically was, if you wanted to be at them, like, if you wanted to be at the like, to actually see the drifting on the track,
you'd have been
you would have to have been literally at those, like, at the fence
at
for
8 o'clock
9
or something.
a.m.
Oh, totally, yeah.
Like, whereas obviously by the time you go and check your car, go and talk to people, you just
not going to happen. Like,
it's just not going to happen. You're sitting there, like, literally, you were going to be sitting there for 3 hours before anything come along. And don't get me wrong, if you're enjoying the drifting, that's also fine. But it's just not how I would have wanted to spend my day.
Or if you've even got the barbecue seats, the fold-up ones.
Aye, but even at that, like, still, like, can you imagine sitting there for 3 hours? Like, being there, stupid o'clock in the morning, sitting there for 3 or 4 hours before any action. Like, I think the action started at 12. So, like, how long are you sitting there before anything happens?
Probably too long, realistically.
So, like,
But we're going to Drift Masters anyway, and we thought we would talk about drifting. We would attempt to talk about drifting.
Yeah, it's our take. I say it's our take on drifting.
Yes.
Me and Connor aren't drifters.
You've owned an Altez and stuff. You've went to Eglinton. You've had a go at drifting.
I've spun out a few times in.
But I've never owned a rear wheel drive, and to be fair, I think if there's one motorsport to go and see, like, yes, it's only like 30-second runs. They say the seat times, power on it, and all that carry on. But like, for a sport to just go and see as like a spectacle and enjoy it, like, if you go and see Diffin, go to King of the Cone, it does get boring after about 2 hours. Whereas drifting, like,
no harm to Hayden. Like, the top, obviously, King of the Cone itself's a good show, but when you're seeing the same cars coming in, and it's terrible to say this, but the wee bit of like drama is when somebody maybe hits a quarter panel or that, or like last year, 2 Lexus IS200 turbos went on fire.
within like 2 minutes of each other. So like
as
seeing,
much as you're not hoping for it, it probably brought a bit more excitement, yeah. Or
Well,
the
like-
chaser that ended up hitting the wall.
aye, like we'll put it.
What is that? You used to not hear that, and the camera not even pick it up, but something straight pipe just went, not like a car, tractor, went by mine.
New Holland.
I think it was New Holland.
So where was I at there?
You were talking about Diffin and King of the Cone, and
Yes, so like nothing to take away from it, but if you're somebody that isn't really into that and you're going to see it, like it adds the wee bit of drama to it. But the likes of
Aye.
drifting, it's just
like I definitely, even for like so like my girlfriend and your girlfriend, like I definitely know Rebecca, like when you're seeing the cars like actually getting very close to each other in tandems and battles and stuff, like that's exciting to watch. Like how close is he diving into that man's door, like, or she, like, that's really like that's exciting to watch. Couple that with the noise, etc. But just when we do mention not that I was going to save most of my shoutouts for the end, but because this episode wasn't drifting, I decided to wear my Unlimited Super T-shirt. My first ever drift day that I went to was Eglinton in 2019 in the Altezza. Me and Adam McCartney went up, and at this stage, my diff was one wheeling.
Oh,
Not as bad as it was in later times, and we'll maybe talk about that later on if I remember. But I was struggling. And to be honest, I was really intimidated. Like, before that, I'd obviously been to the car shows, and well, whilst I hadn't been to car shows in a while, like this was, I hadn't brought in car shows in a while, and kind of was out of touch a bit with everything by that stage. Like the Sierra had been lying in the shed for fuck knows how long at this point, 2 years, and hadn't got the Altezza long. And first drift day, I was so intimidated and was terrified of making a balls, and my first drift day, I was fucking woeful, Connor. Like,
well, realistically, you had done a lot of diffing in the Altezza. That's what diffing
I don't
is
think
one
I'd
thing.
ever done a second gear slide. Like,
But
so
diffing's one thing.
diffing's one thing.
Drifting is a total
Completely different kettle
Here's me
fish.
talking like as if I fucking know, but
Like, and don't get me wrong, there's when you get into the technicalities of diffing, it can be awkward enough too. Like, but I'd never drifted. Like maybe a couple of fishtails out road ends or whatever. That would have been the height of it, and I was terrified. And the likes of David Skillen and Yasser and John McLaren, who were there that day, like made me feel so welcome. And I think I got chatting to them through Adam Osborne, and like they made me feel so welcome, and like they were so nice to me, and were just like, look, just do this, try this, try this, try this, like. And throughout the day, like I was getting better, and like just really appreciate it. Just I kind of went into the whole drifting thing thinking it was going to be a lot of guys because to be honest, that's kind of whenever I first went into car shows.
very clicky.
That's not clicky, but intimidating. Like whenever I first started going to car shows, like 2013, I thought like all the big top guys are all going to be like really intimidating and aren't going to want to speak to you. And there are a couple of bad eggs that kind of maybe give that impression, but for the most part, everybody's an absolute gentleman or complete lady. Like they're all lovely people. And it was the same again at that drift day. Like the Unlimited Super guys were just so nice to me. And then throughout 2020, then like they were inviting me to like the drift days and stuff in England, and it was just great to get that seat time. So whenever you talk about that, kind of pulls me on to the next bit, which I wanted to intervene earlier, but wasn't timing right. But people talk about seat time of drifting, and competitive drifting is absolutely fucking shite. Like, you get, like, maybe 5 minutes in your car throughout the day. If you actually total up how long you're on track, it could be 5 minutes. If you go and do 2 qualifying runs and you don't make battles, that's your day over. But the likes of, like, Eglinton or even the Club Loose days, like the Drift Games Bash,
Yeah,
that's a completely different story.
you get all the seat time you can
Get all the
want.
seat time you want. I would love to do Drift Games Bash or Retro Stock or something like that. Just either my car's broken or just haven't the funding, the finance available to do it at the time. Like,
Well, there's one thing about drifting here in this country.
we're good at it. We're not good
we're
at
not
it.
good at it. But no, we're definitely blessed, because if you think about it, like, I right, as stupid as that's going to sound, so my sort of introduction to drifting was went down to the odd day in Bishop's Court and hadn't a clue.
For the AMA?
But what do you guys hadn't a clue. So like would have went down and you would have seen the ones like doing practice runs, all that.
Yeah.
I stayed there for 2 years and then went home. I know. Because I didn't know there was like top 16 or top 32 or anything like that,
you just thought it was a
hadn't
win
a
of
clue.
boys firing on the corner as hard as they could go.
And then I think it was the year ADC and Kevin Quinn just turned pro and he was in the S13.
Yes.
And they done like they done wee interviews and released it on Facebook, and I think it was one of the last of the years where it was you had to pay for the live stream.
Mm-hmm.
So you went on to IDC and paid for it. But like they did a good job of hyping it up because they got all the drivers and like they were like, oh, I have this new build or that new build, and either going into pro or doing this or doing that. I think Jack Shanahan was pushing James Dean at points that time. I think Connor was like 12.
Possibly, yeah.
But like then, like all good things, it nearly, like, for the goodness of it, got nearly too big for its boots. Because it's like something like the likes of them Drift Games lads are always trying to improve year on year on year.
Yeah.
And there's only so much you can improve year on year on year.
Yeah.
So only so big. So like, we were, you could say, drifting got to a stage where like, you were taking for granted. Going and seeing Jack, Connor, Dwayne, James Dean, Kevin.
Dean, yeah. Like 2017 probably was the peak year. I think that was the last proper year of.
I know then
maybe 2018, maybe the last proper year of the ADC.
And then they changed the branding of it to Drift Games, and like it would have been the last of the I can't mind. Did all them Irish drivers they
all went to Drift Masters and slash the BDC, and then ADC ran for another year. But the likes of Dwayne, Kevin, all them guys, they all went to Drift Masters. So I think for a lot of the guys in the north, with us, like we kind of lost. Like, don't get me wrong, you'd Stephen Halforday and Blaine Rafferty. Probably like some of the more maybe well known / crowd favourite guys, but and there's plenty of other guys who have completely left my head right now. But just because we're friendly with those guys, that's why they're popping in. But for a lot of it, I think when they lost a lot of them big names, I don't think that helped. And then
it allowed the likes of Alan Hines to get a better name.
That's what I was going to say. But then you've seen the likes of Alan Hines coming up through the ranks and Stephen Halfordy.
Yes,
he I think won. He won the DGX amateurs. Did he win the ADC amateurs or something like that? There,
not the Drift Games Extreme.
No, he won the amateurs.
So he won the semi-pro.
Yeah,
and like fair play to him in a sense because he done it in that E36 estate.
Yeah,
he had just changed to the M3 engine.
Yeah, he put the M3 engine.
And like.
Yeah.
He had done it. He did. It's not like he won any rounds.
No, he just Mr. Consistent,
and he just always was up around there, and then ended up clinching it in the last battle.
Yeah, just Mr. Consistent. There's a lot to be said for that too.
But like, so we were spoilt for choice. We're spoilt with good drivers, and as well as that, the other thing, drifting got probably for the people doing it dearer and dearer, and like your cars went from SR20s. Like your SR20 was like your sort of go-to 400, 450 brake.
Yeah.
Your men in the twin cam with the beams engines were probably still fit to keep up on a wet day.
Like a standard 1UZ V8 or 280 brake would have been torquing off the kind of Sitwin SR or something,
And now the standard of cars is FD.
But when you see boys coming out with bullet blocks and all that, like it kind of starts to make everything very, very... very expensive, and for the seat time in it, you kind of can see why some of the guys like Ryan Caldwell and Kevin went to Rallium. Like, it's a shame for the sport, but it sort of. But then at the same time, if they put a cost cap on it, would you have the same cool things? I don't know. I had a point in my head that I was literally ready to make there about something, and then I went off in one of my tangents there, and I've completely forgot, and I can't remember.
Fuck. Well, Right, so then there's the other thing, right? So drifting, a lot of people would say it's not really a real motorsport. And it has you could also say that
Yeah.
if you try to explain it to somebody, like I've said before in this podcast, can't remember what episode it was in, but I was
so
watching.
many now, you know. Podcast number 8, like we're like numbers, nearly double.
I'm just going to say this here. See, whenever the mic comes on, your head turns into fucking
complete
fluff.
mush.
Oh,
Complete mush.
You can't even remember anything. But, yeah, sitting in the living room, and then some of the extended family came in. And they were like, "Oh, what you watching?" I said, "Drifting." And they were like, "Sure, that's just two boys sliding around a course." And they, because they weren't into it. And then as soon as he explained the very bare minimum, they were like, "Oh, well, that's easy to see who the winner is." I was like, "Yes, but you need to get to like the last 8 or last."
Once you start getting the good drivers that they're sitting on each other's doors the whole time, and you literally can't tell.
And
it comes down to who done the better lead run.
Totally.
That's when.
But so a lot of ones would say it's not really like a not that it's not a real motorsport, but it's not like.
Well, I had an argument with
the drifters wouldn't be like the deadliest circuit racing, but then sure, Dave Egan and that done a video with Dwayne, and it was legit within like a couple of seconds.
Out in Al Murray's Leon, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I remember having this conversation with my old manager. Shout out Chris if you're listening. He's probably not, but if he is, hey,
fair play to you.
And I remember we were coming back from the shop one day, and Chris still has an Impreza. At least I think he still has an Impreza anyway. And remember, like, he was coming around the corner and he went out wide. Chris is unbelievable in a kart. Really annoying. Like, you'd come in and you'd think you'd set a fast lap, and you'd look and Chris would be a second and a half faster, and you'd be like, what the fuck? But anyway, he was like, oh, it's the fastest way to take a corner. And I goes, it's not the most fun way. And he goes, oh, you're into all that drifting shit, aren't you? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, but like, he's like, that's bullshit. He goes, how can someone, like, it's a sport that's based on opinion. And it is. You literally have 3 judges dictating how you've performed. He goes, it's a sport based on opinion. He goes, there's no hard evidence. And I was like, stop being such an engineer. Like, it's just, he's thinking like Kirkiston. He's thinking just like setting lap times. If you're the fastest, you're obviously the best. Where he's like, that guy could have done a better run than another guy, but they've gave that guy more points for maybe something stupid. Which is his take on it. Now, if you know the technicalities, you'll know why someone has scored better. But for someone who is into motorsport in a big way, like, he just thought drifting was stupid because he says it's a spectator sport. And I was like, yes, it is a spectator sport. And probably as much the reason he hates it is the reason why I love it.
Well, the thing about it is, right, like, if you are explaining to somebody, they just instantly think of, sliding around or drift or like a diffing or something silly like that.
My nails in camera. That's such a bad habit.
Whereas, and the other thing I suppose about it was, no manufacturers were really getting behind it. But now, this last 2 to 3 years, America's definitely blown up with manufacturers. Like, I know Ford are essentially giving Ready to Rock new chassis.
Yeah.
Papadakis is getting Toyota, like a new Supra, the new GR Corolla. They're getting a GR86. You have the Tunji brothers getting.
What happened to them? Because I remember this was a thing. Were they not given 2 M4s? I haven't heard anything about them. Now, you're going to turn around and say to me, we're literally going to see them this weekend. I haven't heard anything about the Hatunji brothers' lifetime.
I think they got the M4s for 1 year, and then nothing was heard of them. Now, no offense, just going to say this now, but if Red Bull were smart, there's 2 Shanahan brothers there.
Well, they sponsor Connor.
Yes, but they are consistently really good. Jack, consistently.
Both of them.
Probably definitely top 10 drivers in the world.
Oh, yeah. Jack and Connor. The video of the time, was it Riga? Connor Shanahan beat James Dean in that stadium.
And he done some chase running that.
That's possibly one of the best drift matches I've ever seen in my entire life. And the fact that it was 2 Irishmen says it all.
Well, here's one thing. Now, we've said that we've been blessed with the Irish being good at it.
Sure, what else
but
can we do?
Why are they good at it?
Because we grew up fucking sliding around crossroads. But you think about it, like, we talk, like, whenever I grew up, like, nowadays for kids it's IS200s and Sierras, and twin cams are obviously still a cult car, but they're very fucking
twin
expensive.
Cams went to hero status, like Mark IIs and the likes of your E30s.
I can remember standing at my road end or at my house, I'm watching a red twin cam diff in one crossroad and a silver twin cam diff in the other crossroad back in maybe 2001. And that was back when them cars were worth $2,500, which is probably like, I don't know, 3 million quid in today's money. But
true with inflation.
But that was back, obviously when they weren't an expensive car back then. And
it's like the natural progression is they went different, and then they were like, sure, we'll go to a drift day.
Not even a drift day, probably just going sliding out around the Glen Sheehan, or like out in the Sperns, out back roads. And before even the twin cam days, it was boys and Mark II Escorts.
Yeah,
and before that, like, fuck knows, Talbot Sunbeams and stuff like that. But like, there's just always been this obsession in Ireland with rear wheel drive cars. It's just always been a thing.
Aye, but what I'm meaning is, like, obviously they're different, and then they go to maybe a drift day, right? So they can't actually just go to Eglinton, right? And then they're like, oh, pretty good at this.
Well,
and then maybe there's an AMA series or like Pro Drift way back in the day, and then they maybe have a bit of expendable income and they enjoy it, so they do that. And then I suppose like anything that snowballs and just happens to be that, well, because if you look at other countries, like America, everyone's all majority of it's all V8s. As you say, like, they're not exactly going on different.
No, they do these takeovers at fucking intersections, which is the most stupid thing I've ever seen.
Like they're more.
Anyway.
You would nearly say that drag racing and that would have been
drag racing would have been the big thing in America. Yeah, it would have definitely been.
It was how much power you have. Whereas, would you say because the fellas here started in the 130 brake Corollas and then naturally progressed to bigger brake,
110 brake Mark II Escort and a Pinto, like, yeah,
and like learn how to control that, and then maybe went to 300 or 400 brake, controlled that really well.
That's essentially what happened to James Dean, isn't it? Started off in the Sierra Estate,
yeah, and then just
drifted around a silage field.
Yeah,
I think in Ireland it kind of goes back maybe. I don't know. My uncle, he used to have a Mark II Escort back in the day, and he said all they did was fuck about in car parks because the place had more pressing things to worry about. I mean, that was back in the heyday of the Troubles.
Oh, yeah.
A bunch of boys throwing hoops in a car park.
Not bothering them.
They're not doing anything wrong. They're not going to be throwing Armalite at each other or whatever. So, like, just let them tear away. So, you're going out, and boys were going out and sliding back roads, and it became just the thing to do. Like, so from what I gather from hearing my uncle speak, like, I've always just known from I was no age about cars in this country is people just love doing crossroads and sliding back roads. And then when you see, it's because we have so many small roads, everything's very tight, everything's very technical. It's very similar to Japan. And this brings me on to a point actually, and this is something that actually a Swedish fella said to me.
Halt.
It's
not. It wasn't.
So where will I go from?
Quiet. This brings me on the Swedish fella, and then.
So if you see the camera, you'll see a change there where we've had to edit because my microphone has fallen away. I've just had a burp.
You're a bit louder, so you are.
But I wonder how long that was like that.
I don't know. I just noticed it, and the microphone was like too far away from you a wee bit.
But so. Even as I say before, like, obviously we've always known drifting and back roads and messing about and crossroads and stuff, like, that's always been a thing. And it's very similar to that Japan. Tight, twisty roads. And even that brings me on quite nicely to I was out in Ultimate Stance 2017 and talking to a Swedish guy called Leo Carlson. And Leo was telling me, he says, the Irish are the best drifters in the world after the Japanese. And you could argue now at the minute that the Irish, Naoki Nakamura is coming to Drift Masters. And Naoki's fucking class.
Yeah.
So if you get like Naoki Nakamura versus James Dean, like, that's just going to be holy shit. Like, that's one of my life goals to see that even happening if it happens. So, like, the Irish have Peter Vicek, I think, is the only person ever to beat the Irish on the Irish shores.
He is.
So, and what does that tell you? And we've had Diego Sato come here.
And James Dean battled him in RDC and beat him in top 32.
Yeah. So, we've had likes of Forrest Wang, all those guys come, well, he's American, but we've had all these people come over. But Leo was saying, in Sweden, they have these big wide tracks and you need like 1,300 horsepower to drift it, like Gadabal, which is Norway.
Yeah.
Like, everyone goes over there and everything's got fucking insane horsepower, and I'd love to do Gettable. Like, that would be insane. I'd love to, or Gatebill as I used to call it for years, but when he called it Gettable, I assumed it's probably called Gettable.
I just thought it was called Gatebill.
But he said it was like, that's like, the whole idea is how mental can you go? He says, like, 1300 horsepower is what they have, whereas here it's all like 450 horsepower SRs, which is exactly what the D1 GP cars used to be back in the day. It was all SRs and FC RX7s. 350, 400, 450 horsepower was like what all those guys used to run. And it was the same here for years. Nobody was doing crazy big builds until, I don't know, but probably 10 years ago. And then that's when, like, probably 2013, 2014 is really when you started to see, don't get me wrong, there's probably people always at crazy builds, but like, even back in 2016, the pack of what you would see, then versus now, even at a smaller level. Like, I can remember, like, one of my first proper drift events, I haven't actually been, you seem to have been attending them longer. Like, don't get me wrong, I've seen them at like Shackleton, seen them at Bishop's Court if I was there for a car show. But my first ever proper drift event I went to was Tullyrowan 2016.
Oh, yeah.
It was fucking class. It's always cool, but it's always a good night. And I've missed the last few of them. I don't know why, because it annoys me, because there always seems to be some. I think did we miss the last one because we were in Ultimate Stance?
No, we missed the last one because we were at Brian's wedding.
Fuck you, Brian. But like, well, it was a pisser of a day anyway. So
usually it is a pisser of a day.
It's normally fucking Baltic.
But it's nice the fact that it's always at the end of the season, so they have less of a fuck to give.
And it's all because it's a cold night. The cars are always running better.
And I'll like, it's, you say engraved in my head, Dwayne super lap that time.
Yes.
And he did not come off the limiter.
No. It's literally, but I remember being at that and even seeing the caliber of cars then, and like a lot of that's more amateur versus what guys are building now.
It's crazy.
It's fucking insane, and that's only 7 years ago. Like, it's nuts. Speaking of, when you talk about limiter, this has also just come into my head, and it just makes me think of Kevin. And it was LZ Fest, because no way Kevin, Quinn M Sport give Adam LZ one of the S15s.
Yes.
Right. Well, the first run, Adam was doing a practice run, I think, along with Kev, and Kevin was obviously doing what Kevin does, and just like literally just bricked to the accelerator, like, and Adam LZ was coming out behind him, and he was just driving kind of normally. And then the second run, Adam LZ came out and he was sitting flat in the limiter as well.
And his words were, "Yeah, you really do have to drive that car like a dick to get the most out of it."
Yeah, but I can just imagine in the pit, like in the pits, I just can imagine Kev going like, "Yeah, hey, see that fucking like pedal there? Don't lift your fucking foot off that. Just keep your fucking foot on it." And Adam just
what
going,
accent is that?
I don't know. It's just literally. It's
sounds
just
like another dairy coming out on you.
Oh fuck, Jesus Christ. It's not even me trying to mock Kev. It's literally just. It's just literally that's just how it sounded in my head. Because the next run, Adam LZ was just like, and like I was like, fucking hell, that sounds unbelievable.
We'll see with the likes of drifting then. So, European versus we've. IDC got massive.
Yes.
Then IDC crumbled apart. It sort of got
COVID didn't help.
COVID screwed Eddie
COVID
Power.
killed it. Yeah, COVID did kill off Eddie Power. He could have had a good thing.
Oh, it definitely. And the way he was doing it was, I suppose he was doing it right. So I'm not saying that IDC is doing it wrong now, but
no, coming to the north.
What he done with the IDS was right. You had to be in road tires, make it a more even playing field.
Yeah.
To try and get the younger stars to come through to see like if there is more talent there, right? And evidently there always is in Ireland, to be fair. But then unfortunately with COVID, and then ADC came back again. It's a lot more low key. It's coming to the north, yes,
it's coming to Shackleton at the end of the month, and you're missing it.
Yes, I have family commitments on that day.
It's only your goddaughter's communion, like Godson's communion. Like, it'll be fine. No, you're a dead man if you miss that. Like,
yes, definitely. Jared will kill you.
Oh, Are they 8?
Aye.
What?
Aye.
Holy fuck. Right, okay.
So
I still think they're like 3.
You think everyone's like 3?
True. Including myself.
When they were 3, that was being built at the start.
Holy shit. But
So yes, and then sort of drift masters, all the good drivers went to it, yes.
yeah.
And you could say since drift masters like 3 years ago to now, all the like the Eastern European drivers. So Peter Vincek was in the R34 at the time.
Yes.
So it was really between him and James Dean for a while.
Yeah.
They're very much more like very technical and had to get all like real good qualifying runs and all that.
They had a great chemistry as well.
Then Dwayne came into it.
Yeah.
And he wiped the floor in the first 2 rounds just with sheer speed.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I'll never forget
He's
the
fastest man
second
on the
round in
track, like.
2019. Like he completely wiped the floor.
Was
with
that
him.
in France?
Yes,
Yeah.
but now don't get me wrong. When it came then to the more tighter technical tracks, he couldn't get away with speed. Not saying that's how he wins battles, but
It probably suits his driving style because he's such a clutch banger. Like,
yes. But you'd say like the style there, but then if you look at American drifting, it is like, you know, as you're talking about Sweden, they all need 1200-1300 brake because it is all ovals.
Yeah.
And
which
I'm not as big a fan. It's
No.
not as tight and technical.
No.
Now they say it is the best in the world, but I would nearly gravitate and say that Drift
No.
Masters has
Drift Masters
overtaken
better.
it.
Drift Masters are better than Formula D. Like, James Dean went to Formula D and completely cleared up. Like, what does that tell you?
Judging by some of the comments, people disagreed with some of the battles and that, but again, it's in judges' opinion.
It's black, but he's the champion. But did he win it 3 times?
3 seasons, 3 times.
3 seasons, 3 times.
And then he jumped in that Mustang and he qualified second in his first qualification in that car.
And I'm never
And
really...
him using an electric steering pump from an Astra.
Same thing as what my car has. That's what he has in all his cars. That's what half the drift cars...
And then they were like, we don't get this here.
That's what half the drift cars in Ireland run. My Sierra has a Astra power steering. You know the whining noise whenever I turn my car on? It's my power steering pump.
Oh, there you go then.
Quite a few of the Sierra boys are running them now. And yeah, like half the drift cars in the country run them. Mark IV Astra. Power steering pump.
But, well...
Probably the same as what's
you'd wonder why the manufacturers weren't a bit smarter and supported more here then. I know BMW did with the $100, but...
Who wants to come to Ireland? Realistically. But like, you know, at the end of the day, it's not like... we're just not big enough. Like, they're probably thinking that who in Ireland's actually going to go and buy a BMW after this. Like,
have you seen the amount of BMs on the road?
I know, but what I'm saying is like, you can either cover all of America or cover Europe.
Aye, but
You're
what I
not
mean
gonna
is Drift
cover
Masters
Ireland.
is all Europe.
Yeah, and the Hatunji brothers got the BMs.
Yes, that's why I said it's good that BM came on.
Yeah. But sure, what other fun
well,
rear-wheel drive cars are there out there other than Toyotas?
Cali Rovin Perez starting it, and he's got Toyota funded probably GR Supra.
Yeah.
But he can't do the Ireland round this year.
Oh, can you not?
No, he's doing all the mainland European ones.
Right, okay.
Suppose, to be fair, right, it's deadly that it comes here, but it probably makes no sense whatsoever because of the amount of travelling, like a Polish man or that.
Yeah.
Coming over.
I mean, when you think about like even France.
But I suppose I would nearly put it out there that the wild cards that do be in it here are like the best wild cards. That's very much like,
that's probably us being like
Ireland.
Us being Irish and kind of nearly with the same attitude. I think the Irish honestly, I think the Irish to drifting have the same opinion as Irish to rugby because we're also very good at rugby in this country, and we always think like we can't be beat in the rugby. And like this year, obviously we won the Grand Slam. Like we're very patriotic of the Irish drifters. Like, but then you're going to have to be.
Yes, but what I mean is, if you go to the other rounds,
yeah,
maybe I don't follow it enough, and I could be wrong on this, but the wild cards just wouldn't be top 4, whereas
over here,
Paul McGrath got number 3, or got in the podium there the first time Drift
Paul
Masters.
McCarthy, in a car that he claims he spent no more than £5,000 on, but he makes all the parts himself. He owns a machine shop,
and
so I mean,
the car he had to fill it with water every time he had to go out for a run.
Was it not oil?
Or oil,
I
sorry.
think he'd have put a litre of oil in it every time he took it out to run.
Yeah, because
Like, it was on its knees.
yeah.
That was class. That was one of the best. That was 2017.
I know they changed the layout for 2019 and put it like down at the bottom of Mondello,
Yeah.
and it was nowhere near as good looking.
No, you need the main big, because that first corner is deceptively hard.
Yeah.
Speaking of the times I've mangled myself on a Car X.
Do you mind actually? So we went to that old Jab Fest, or they nicknamed it Jab Fest because we weren't get the full public in.
Mm-hmm.
So I drove down the EP3 on time and drove around. So I was like, "Oh my god, this is so familiar!" And then Michael comes out with, "There's the gravel trap I'm always hitting," and because Car X brought out
Mondello Park, I think, is like the only
licensed
track in it, despite the fact none in Car X is licensed.
Shows how good we are.
Like, but again, I think Car X is they an American company or
I haven't a clue.
So and the fact that Mondello Park's getting in behind that's pretty fucking cool. But I don't know really what the idea for drifting is. We're not really talking anything about the technicalities of drifting or anything.
It's probably the motorsport we're most into.
It is, and we're just literally talking shit about events we've been to and stuff we've enjoyed, but time is pressing on.
Yes, and the only one other thing I should say is it has been a couple of weeks since now?
Yes.
But like rallying in Ireland lost one of the brightest prospects.
Well, I was going to do that closer to the end.
But
yeah, Greg Breen. Absolute
and realistically
shame.
You would say that drifting stemmed from
our love of rallying.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the whole thing of the back roads, drifting and all that is what I'm saying earlier. Like the Irish have always been fantastic rallying too. Circuit of Ireland and Donegal International proves that. And Craig was really starting to...
I'd be telling a lie if I had really heard of him at all, but I don't follow rallying really at all. Other than back in the day whenever RPM was on UTV at like 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And you would have heard like Eugene Donnelly and that. But
he was starting he done unbelievable in the lower classes and all, he done really well. This year and I think the next couple of years would have been big for him back with Hyundai in the car. The Ford Puma he was driving, he didn't really, I think, get the most out of it.
It just didn't work for him.
Didn't work for him back in a Hyundai. He said that Hyundai he was driving was one of the... He just said that this thing's absolutely class. Probably not those exact words, but he was massively into it. And
he tragically, prematurely lost his life.
Croatia, wasn't it?
It was Croatia. He was testing.
Yeah, look, I was going to bring that closer at the end, but I suppose that's a nice sentiment, ties everything together when you say about the history of maybe drifting in Ireland probably does stem from rallying. So, yeah, no, it's a nice sentiment too. Good man, Connor. But moving on from that to maybe pick the tone back up again, we're going to maybe run into the versus challenge now. So the last couple of times Connor has done one for me and I done one for Connor. This week we're going to go
and do one each
in an attempt to just see how it works. We're trailing, we're still figuring things out. So
right, so let me think. Michael, yes. You drive in the yard and a man turns around and he says he can hand you a set of keys.
Okay.
And you're looking at a JDM EP3 Type R or a JD, obviously it's only going to be a JDM DC5. Essentially the same car.
Yes.
Which one do you take?
DC5.
And why?
I like Integras more than I like Civics. Sorry, Connor.
And at that, the podcast is
over. It's imagine the meme of just person going, you think it's fine, everything's fine, it's fine, but really you're not fine.
Well, here, apparently I got a lot of crap about picking an IS200 over an Omega, but if you really want to know the truth, I have fuck all clue about Omegas, and I know a wee bit more about IS200s.
I have a stint on that later on, actually. You're not getting away with that one that easily.
I'm going to be like a roast dinner. Going to be roasted that badly.
There's a few boys weren't too happy with you. Versus challenge for me then. Connor, for my version, I'm actually... So we actually attempted this already, but...
Every time Michael does this, he fucks it up.
It
'cause he
didn't
takes
work.
too long.
It didn't work, so I've come with another option. Would you go for... So, it's... Okay, this is the third this is the third time we've done this. If you're listening to this, I've already tried this twice and fucked it up twice. So I'm doing this for a third time.
I'll tell you why he does fuck it up. Michael likes to start to tell something. And then he starts to be like, right, need to get the background to it. Need to say why I'm doing it. And then I need to say why I want you to do it.
So it's context, but
we don't need as much context. Right, so
fine, okay. So it's the year 2002, okay?
Again, very specific.
Benny Benassi is still playing on the radio. Satisfaction. Special D's Come With Me has just come out.
My favourite tune probably of all time.
A good year for everybody.
Yeah.
We're still harking back to the Max Per days.
Yes.
You're not going to be able to, obviously, have a fortune. So you're not going to buy something brand new. But you're going to do something up. Would you choose
a
Vauxhall Nova
or
a Peugeot 106?
Oh.
Don't look so excited with that
probably do a Nova still.
I think I'd choose a Nova.
And again, take two at this. Do you mind, was it Need for Speed Underground? There was the Storm body kit, and it was essentially like a Vilside style sort of body kit. If you go on Need for Speed Underground too, you'll remember. Right.
I think another one you're on about.
So, back in the days of primary school, every car I drew had the exact same looking body kit. So, big shopping trolley, as you say, a shopping trolley that's down to save the car, so you didn't forget your groceries when you were at Tesco.
With like all the items.
It wouldn't
nothing that's on your car.
It wouldn't be Brembo or Sparko. It would be apples, potatoes,
cabbages, apple tart, red BPM.
would it even have been a thing?
Don't know. Actually, in 2002, fuck,
Lilt,
Fanta
orange or Fanta lemon.
So that's the verse. That's the versus challenge.
And then the back one would be, how do you like apples?
So,
wait, and the best modification of all, I get about a 12-inch sewer pipe and I painted it chrome and I had the big exhaust then.
Oh, good God. Fucking hell. Yeah, some massive, some tragic, some fantastic stuff back then, but some absolutely tragic
and then
stuff
I would
too.
Do something similar to what you did years ago. I would get a blue bar, cut a hole in it. It's like a big, subwoofer or a big subwoofer.
I've done that with my boot build one of the times. That's right.
And then just fiberglass to shade out around it.
Yeah.
There's actually, right, if you've seen it probably on Facebook where there's a fella and
Stormtrooper.
and
Project Stormtrooper.
I don't know what it is, but
it's a Clio.
It's a fucking. Is it a Clio?
It's a Clio.
I don't know how that thing moves with the amount of fucking eyes upon it.
It's not ever supposed to move. It's called Project Stormtrooper. It's a Clio. It's a Mark 1 Clio, I'm near sure.
Yeah.
And it's literally full of fiberglass and filler.
I have never seen anything like it.
Honestly, looks like the type of thing. Like, he's going to put whatever base through that. I will be surprised if the whole thing just doesn't turn to dust.
It's fucking crazy. And
he's trying to go back to the Max Per Day, so it's full of TVs. So you literally can't see out the windows. If you sit
like
in
a demo
it,
car.
Yeah, if you sit in it, it's literally got like 3 TVs, I think, in it, and it's just speakers everywhere.
Yeah.
But like,
each to their own.
I mean, I couldn't do it. So...
I personally wouldn't do it. Do you know something? No. It's nice that he's trying something different.
Yeah, I mean, fair play, but there's sometimes a case of just because you can.
It's a bit like Tetley. It's not my cup of tea. Punjana.
Oh, we said that at the same time.
Or if you're down south, Barry's.
Ah, yes. So that, or no, Lions.
Is it Lions?
Well, Barry's maybe as well, but Lions is the job.
I was told it was sacrilegious because I brought Punjana down the road, and they tried it, and they were like, why do we not get this? They just don't like it strong.
We could end up in Shane Todd's podcast, this really going with Tea with me. But, which to be fair would be cool. But anyway, moving on from that then, we've, in a bid to try and structure everything, we've
a new segment.
If we think
something's good, it's big old skid, and if it's not good, it's
So-
a one-wheel pile.
Kind of lines up with the theme of the
Good or bad?
topic.
Um,
The fact it's a limit slip differences.
Yes.
How to get that in. Just in case people didn't understand, but they probably did. Anyway,
People aren't like Michael.
no, they're not, to be fair. So,
They're all like you.
that's fair. That's a fair appraisal.
So, I would say my big old skid,
Yes.
is a slurry tanker with a self-fill arm.
Yes, you showed me this on TikTok.
But like it goes into a tank. It's not like a self-fill arm where your big self-propelled slurry tanker puts his arm into the back end of a tanker, of a ferry tanker.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why has nobody like thought that's... yes, we've got the lazy arm, but how handy is that not?
That's probably...
Imagine, like, instead of the Dota pump on the tanker, putting it to the dribble bar, even make a fucking lazy arm that you pulled into the side, you just set it down, and you hooked on the lazy arm, and it was to a pipe that was down into the tank. You just fucking pump it in with a Dota pump.
Yeah, I would say probably...
And it's not really big old skid, it's big old scur.
Big old scur. It's probably... You probably have to make up something similar to like a joystick box on like a JF. That's probably actually what they've done.
I don't know, but it just was fucking cool.
It's probably like the same way you can tilt like the...
Have you any big old skids?
I have a heap of stuff
Oh,
to talk
Jesus.
about. No, honestly. But you have a few of them, so some I didn't get to go to, but you actually, it's probably a big old skid for me just because it kind of harks back to memories, even though I wasn't there. But you went to Marfelt on last Friday night and you said the town was rammed.
It was.
So that's kind of something that would have been nice to have went to, but I
No.
had wedding prep the next day, so.
I just happened to go in for a Chinese, and the time was rammed. Now, I don't know how they are organising these things, but like it was deadly to see it bunged again.
Definitely. Last time I remember the town being that bunged was 2013.
Because,
So,
yeah,
10 years later. Literally to this time, 10 years later.
they maybe have took on board what we said about the whole social media thing.
Yeah.
Because realistically, I don't know how they organise
I
it.
never seen anything about it on social media.
And like,
And I like to think I'm pretty hip and down with the kids, but maybe not.
well, that was like, have you got a weight or something? Because you might as well have sounded like it.
But yeah, like it was
When I arrived, they were blocking in back car park,
yes,
so I couldn't get into it.
yes,
So I just drove down and then walked into it.
yes.
It was rammed.
Holy fuck.
Have you got a
I
one-wheel
have.
pile?
Have I got a one wheel pill? I have got a one wheel pill. So I talked about I actually have a couple. I have a few.
Oh.
The first one wheel pill.
Can you show me your phone?
Yeah, I'll show you the list because I've compiled this from you talking about things as well. So the first one wheel pill I have, and this is probably something we could end up doing a segment on. Speed Hunters recently took pictures of like this Evo. Now it might have been a 3, might have been a 4, and it was lying there, and it was completely rotten. This is in Japan, lying there completely rotten, and like you see this on even close to home, especially with like old Fords, and old Vauxhalls, cars that are worth a lot of money.
So Fords are full of rotten dung.
Well, of course, and I think British is, but like Vauxhalls, Fords, fucking all that stuff, just rotten.
Wouldn't be understated great from factory.
Just build quality in the 90s probably wasn't the most fantastic, like,
Fair enough.
but you know, and it just makes me wonder, you know, people say, oh, I'm not selling that car because I know what it's worth, and it's like, yes, but your car is worth fuck all sitting there rotten, like to the point where it's going to cost more money to bring that car back from the dead or a resale.
Mhm.
And to maybe make anything at it, because if your floor pans are beyond the point of repair, where you're literally having to put a new floor pan into a car,
No, it's not
not economical.
Yes.
So that was something that kind of seen that, and that kind of even that annoyed me, and then it made me think about stuff I've seen like on Facebook. You got this page called "Sitting There Rotting on a Driveway" or "Sitting Rotting on a Driveway," and you see like even like Sarah Cosworth and stuff like that, and you're just looking at it going, fucking hell, like shit like that. Another big old skid, something you're a big fan of, pop and bang maps on a TDA.
What?
Yeah.
You think that? Oh, like you said, a big old skid.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all right. I'm still getting used to this. I'm not that slow, but I'm appearing to be that slow.
Don't know how they do it.
Because realistically, a diesel is a compression ignition.
Yeah.
It's not as if it's a petrol where
It's not spark ignited. No, it runs in compression.
So how the hell did they get flames and all coming out of the back exhaust?
You
could say they're dumping extra fuel, but how does it?
Well, diesel diesel is obviously because they run wide open throttle. It's all fuel dictated, I think. But I don't know whether it's on a switch.
No idea.
So
and you can map it into mostly any car.
Is it somewhere they can change it that it runs on a different stroke, like where the?
I don't know,
but because it's compression, I don't know. It's not like a spark plug where it can ignite in a different stroke, and that's how you get your pops and bangs. But like, apparently it's hard on them. Supposedly it could make a car jump timing. I know even you would get that in petrol cars where, like, you know, boys that have like really aggressive limiters can cause them to jump timing and drop valves and shit like that. So apparently, like, even the hard cut limiters on like TDIs can make them jump timing if you're aggressive enough. Yeah.
Another thing I would say for a big old skid would be we're mentioning lorries again.
Oh.
So Niall Reid, NDR Transport.
Oh, yes.
He is a sexy looking R Series Scania.
Yes.
I don't know what model it is.
I think it's a 580, but I could be wrong.
Haven't a clue. But he done a Rascal, isn't it?
Yeah, Bedford Rascal. Like
the thing.
Mini truck.
Oh, like it is actually deadly.
See, I like that because it's done up in the style of a key truck.
Yes.
Yeah, see, I think that's class.
Like that was fair dues to him.
That's unreal. That was really, really cool.
And then has the wee number plate as VNDR. And the other's V88 NDR. I just thought that was really cool.
Class. So another one-wheel pill, Connor, something that's actually been really fucking me off recently. And so at the minute I'm driving the Lexus. So I'm constantly going to get petrol because the thing's a fucking...
they're thirsty.
It's a cunt and fuel. But anyway, something I've noticed, I have not ever been able to pay £20, £30, £50 or even £80 for that matter when I'm putting fuel in. It's always 20.01, 30.01, 50.01.
Do they charge you for the extra penny?
Well, see, if you're paying by your card, yes, they do every time. Are we getting beat that?
I don't know.
They're still beeping.
If
that's someone actually beeping at us, fair play. We might just be taking on main character syndrome. But that's if someone's beeping at us, fair fucking play to you.
They're horny.
Yeah. There's some with a horn going there. Wild dose of the horn altogether. But it's I think, as you say, if you're paying by card, do they make the machines be like that on purpose?
To get the extra penny out.
So people always pay the extra penny. And then if that's happening like 100 times a day, which probably is, if not more, like do that over, like, I know it's only £1, but over the course of a year, does it really make sense to get an extra £365? Probably not. But I don't know. It literally just, I can't get it to 50 quid or whatever. It just always go. You could be sitting on 29.97, 29.98, 29.99, 30.01. And you're just like, are you actually fucking kidding me? That's a big old fucking one-wheel pill with that.
You're a tight bastard.
I am. Anyway, will we move on to some mentions?
Yes. So you're going to cover it this year week for...
I have a considerable number of mentions, yes.
Okay.
First one is Hugh Barr.
Oh.
So literally after episode 7 was released, or not even, episode 6 was released, he wrote to me and goes, I'm banging my head off the window at your tractor knowledge. And I was like, right, you need to let me know what I've said wrong here, like, because this kind of stuff I need to do. Like, I was like, fuck, I thought we had it fairly well covered. Like, we purposely spoke about stuff we sort of had half a clue about. And he was like, a 6270 is actually a better tractor than a 6290 because they're the same engine, but you can screw a 6270 harder. And I went, right, okay.
How the hell am I going to do that?
I'd say ignore me. But then he did also say that his dad calls him like the tractor encyclopedia or something. He says he knows stuff that people shouldn't know. Like, he also told me that the first of the 20 series Deers has the same V pump as the 10 series, so you can screw them. I thought all 20 series had to be mapped.
So it was something like the start of the T6 series that they could actually be screwed as well.
Exactly.
Their manual
Exact
pump.
same thing. So which I didn't realise, and probably don't need to have that information on my head, but I do. Who else have we got? Sean O'Kane. Sean O'Kane actually wrote to me a while back, and I was meaning to include this a couple of times. So, harking back to the port, which, by the way, went to it last weekend, and not a fucking being there. Quite disappointing.
It's always the way, though.
But no, but
Like, I mean, anytime, like I went last year, Brave Lot, and then got, fed up of
yes,
going, and then got to
As
summertime,
soon
and that was bunged all the time.
yeah,
It's always the
yeah.
second case.
Well, made me think of a story then that we're going back to I think 2014 here, and it wasn't long after Sean got the hydraulics put in the SAP,
Yeah.
and I had the 207 on the hydraulics as well at the time, and we both were running the Rotiform BLQ wheels.
Yes.
And this is back whenever I used to have the wee remote in my hand, the wee key fob, and I used to be able to lift and lower the car remotely.
Yes.
And I remember sitting in the back of Sean's car. Sean's car had like blackout tinted windows at the rear, so you would not have known that there's anybody in there. And you used to be able to sit, so we would like drive by my car. And obviously you thought this was a cool thing to do back then. I probably wouldn't be arsed doing it now, but back then this was very funny when you're like 20 or something. And I lifted the car, and there's this old man walking by like eating an ice cream. And I remember lifting the car, and he just stopped and was like as
If you
if
hadn't a clue, you'd have shit yourself.
literally just like as if out of nowhere, why is this car lifting up? And then he was standing there like this, and then Sean shouted out the window, he goes, "It must be the wheels," because obviously he had the rotiforms as well, and started bouncing the back end of his car, and the old man just went. And the only thing that would have made it more perfect is if his ice cream had dropped. Like, it was so funny. I just, probably you had to be there kind of moment, like, but it was just one of them times, and that particular night at the port was, I hadn't the hydraulics in long, and it was absolutely rammed, and it was just, I remember, it was May time, it was a really good night. Just remember it in general, just miss those days. Another mention, shout out to Adrian McAllister.
Oh,
He's
yes.
outstanding in his field. Best scarecrow there ever was. Don't think it'd take too many guesses for Adrian to figure out who put me up to that one. we'll not name names, but Adrian, you don't
He's
have
a good bod, so he is.
you don't have to look too far away, put it this way. So I reach out my phone here. We have to get something that write this down or something to write this down, and then it doesn't help that my phone dies after a minute because I've got my work stuff on it. Yes, a couple of boys not happy with you at a wedding there on Saturday,
Yeah.
and I was standing, and a fella comes up to me at the bar and goes, "Fuck lad, I'm fucking raging." Fella Chumper, Keelan McKenna from Mahara.
Right.
And I was like, "Chumper, what's going on here?" Like, and he said, "Who the fuck picks an Lexus over an Omega?"
Wait, Keelan McKenna hasn't had the 5 Series in that?
Yeah.
All right.
And,
He will roast me if he
yeah, he was like, "Who the fuck even thinks that?" He goes, "Fuck it." Like, he goes, "How's that even a fair comparison?" He goes, "I got that annoyed." He goes, "I sent it to Paddy O'Neill to complain about it." He's like, "I literally sent your TikTok to Paddy O'Neill." And I was like, "Well, sure, to be fair, did you not hear me going, seriously?" And he was like, "Oh, yeah. And I was like, I was on the Omega side too. Like, so even you look at the TikTok corner, everybody's just going Omega, 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 apart from Adam McCartney because we used the picture of his car. But everyone's going Omega, 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 Omega. So I would have chose the Omega too. Purposely threw that in thinking you would have.
But why the Omega?
Makes more power, more fun.
I'll get that, like,
sounds better.
but in all genuine seriousness, I haven't a clue about Omegas.
But I think everybody can come back and say the AS200's a hardier car. Like, Omega's type of thing, after drift day, they recommend changing the oil in them.
Oh.
There's AS200s that have probably done drift days out there for the last 5 years and never had the oil change. Like,
Yeah, no, I get
so,
it.
But Omega makes more power, sounds better, just, I think, a cooler bus in general.
Fair enough.
That's why I would have went for the Omega, but I did go for that to see, because obviously it's one that you wouldn't have known as much about versus one you do know a bit more about.
And I'm not going to say any more about it because you'll just get roasted further.
Another shout out from that same wedding was Michael Clark. Sorry, you're going to get a roasting here too. So stand outside the wedding, and all the cars were celebrating, shall we say? And Michael's recently just got his Sierra, and it has a slip in it. Well, you talk about a one-wheel pile.
Oh, it didn't lock?
No. So there's him bouncing, lumming her, clutch banging her, trying to get her to go round, and she just wouldn't go. And he got a lot of abuse. Fucking good dogs abuse for it, like. So I tell him, he then come up to me and goes, lad, who am I going to get to sort my diff here? And I was like, just go to Ali McClelland. Just get Ali to sort it. So there's a shout out for Ali as well. But I felt bad for him, like, because I can remember mine was the exact same at one point, back in 2017 and 2016 when I put the first slip in, and you were sitting wanging her to try and get her to go, and you had to start off with a burnout, and that's the only way I could get my car to go round. Donegal 2017, I hadn't the diff done by that point, and I can remember like trying to do road ends and all on the way to Mexico, and Creslaw in Mexico, and that one, and like she just,
it's like Las Vegas and how's it Donegal?
There we go. She'd just slide out, and then the next thing, just one wheel, and like no matter how much ill-breededness or clutch kicking you were giving her, she just wouldn't do it. Once they're loose, they're loose. And yeah, that's actually because you've already mentioned your milk and hungover and Niall Reid's lorry. So
well, there's one other thing I suppose to mention. It happened there at the weekend. Rally of the Lakes.
Yeah,
we need to do that.
It'd be class, to be fair. Like, it's basically the South equivalent of Donegal, isn't it? Like,
I know, but like a lot of them ones would come up for Donegal.
Yeah, there's not really as many people from us. We're a bunch of selfish bastards up here in the north. Like, we don't really go down enough to anywhere like that.
But well, do you know much about the rally? Like in regards to, obviously you've King of the Cone and that.
Isn't
here.
It Mall's Gap or something? Is like the big place.
Oh,
down
the Gap
there.
of Dunlow or what?
No, it's not Mall's Gap.
Mall's Gap, then.
Yeah, Mall's Gap is like the place where everybody goes to wreck, and we maybe did it somewhere similar to that in Donegal, but no one seems to go to it now. But I think in recent years it's become that heavily policed by the Gardaí. Like, you just couldn't get near it.
Oh really?
I heard that from a couple of Southern ones. Like, said like the Gardaí really clamped down hard on the Rally of the Lakes because it was just full of people going nuts. And you wouldn't have heard any stories about anybody actually doing anything bad, but when it's easier to do someone for going sideways than it is to actually catch a criminal for stealing a car,
True, fair enough.
Yeah.
So is that then us for episode 8?
I think so. That's us fairly well concluded.
So hopefully you all enjoyed this podcast. We're actually not as long as the last one we done.
No, I'm surprised. I thought when we got on to the drifting that thought we'd talked an excessive amount, and I was like, shit, we still have a lot of stuff to do. But the challenges didn't take as long as I thought, so we've
got rightly through them. But socials, you'll catch me, Connor.McGoo, everywhere, and Snapchat, Insta.
Is that your Snapchat as well?
I changed it.
Oh, seriously? I should probably do the same then.
Just change it for it's handy, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, Snapchat, Insta, and TikTok.
Yeah, your TikTok's the same.
Yours.
I am Michael Scullin _ on TikTok and Instagram. I don't use Snapchat enough to really...
To be fair, neither do I. Like, I have had it since it was a thing at all.
Oh, I've had Snapchat for as long as I can remember at this point, but it's just...
since it first came out.
Yeah.
And I still haven't met 100,000 of a score.
Oh, okay, no, I have more than that. But, like, I have, like, my streaks. Like,
I don't even bother with
the
streaks.
10 people who I just snap every day.
Sure, made the start of the streak with me. You just kept on sending me a snap, and then it was after literally 3 weeks I caught on. I was like, what the fuck are you sending me a snap for every day?
Are you starting to streak? Yeah, Connor Kelly caught on after like 6 days.
No, it took me like 3 hours.
21 days.
But
that's what he's doing. Yeah.
But no, I came here and you were like, why the fuck won't you snap me back? And I was like, why you send me a random pic? I don't get this. And they were like streaking. I was like, makes sense now. But yeah. So thanks everybody for listening to the podcast. Make sure to tell if you see either, if you get the chance to see the Sierra and it's not at the side of the road somewhere, then definitely, hit the horn, flash the lights.
I can't
say
do it
hello.
back because I don't know why. I think my horn fuse is blown, but I mean, fuck knows when the next time it'll be out at this point. But
if you happened to see it also at Driftmasters, it was nice to see you because this will be out the week after Driftmasters.
yeah,
So
following
it was
Sunday.
nice to see you.
Nice meeting you. Yep, good chatting to you. Yep. Thanks, appreciate it.
Probably nobody will come and say hello.
I think we're getting a bit too ahead of ourselves.
Um,
we do get the odd person writing to us. I say we get the odd, but we actually do get quite a few people writing to us at this point.
yeah.
I think we're on the right track.
Yes.
We're on the right track.
We went from 2 to 3.
Yes. In the last month.
Yes.
It was 2 and 2 months before that. Right. Time enough to call it quits then.
Yeah, so thanks very much for listening.
Best of luck. Cheers.
All the best, guys.